Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Comics Podcast, where we have a lot of the amazing individuals of Sacred Heart High School sharing their story and what they do. So here today, I have an amazing person. She grew up in Boyle Heights, and she shared how she always wanted to be a nurse, and growing up, ended up going to Sacred Heart High School from the class of 1970, graduated, and then went on to Cal State LA to their nursing program. She later did a program through the Harper UCLA hospital, the nurse practitioner program, in which she was the nurse practitioner for the OBGYN department. She also received her MBA, Master's in Business Administration and Healthcare Management through the University of Phoenix, and then became the Chief Nursing Officer at the LA County USC Hospital, which is right down the street from Sacred Heart. She was the Chief Nursing Officer for 12 years, and which I'll ask her a little bit about that because that's where she was born. And she's also proud mother and proud grandmother of her son and grandson. So without further ado, I want to introduce everyone to Irene Resendez. Irene, welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's great to have you. Well, first of all, I want to go back to high school years. And whenever I talk to alumni, it's always interesting because there are different things that happen for them that probably are not the same for our students today, just because the teachers are different, admin is different. And I like to see, well, what is similar? What is different? So first of all, let's just go back and tell me, what was Sacred Heart High School like back then for you?
You're asking me to go back 50 years. My goodness. My memory, I don't think is that good. It was friendship. I think there was a sisterhood that continues on to this day. We all felt close. It was, a small school, but we were all very, very tight knit, I think, in very supportive of each other.
Yeah.
Of course, all of our teachers, the majority of our teachers at that point were the Dominican sisters. We only had maybe a handful of lay teachers. But I think that was probably the biggest difference.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any sisters teaching anymore. And that stopped, 4 or 5 years ago. So that has changed greatly. So what was it like to have sisters as teachers, as staff faculty all around? What was that like?
It was different. It was a lot more, I think the sisters were very strict in terms of, certainly how we wore our uniforms, it had to be to the knee. And then we couldn't just stand around outside. And I remember the boys' schools, Cathedral Salesian, they would come and they would drive around the school, right? But we were forbidden to talk to any of them or to let alone get in a car. Are you kidding me? Sister Ernie Paul, the principal at that point, probably would have beamed us on the head or something. It just wasn't done, but I think it's funny that the guys after school would come around and just cruise around the school, and while we were waiting to get on the bus, because nobody drove in those days either. Everybody took the bus because everybody's parents worked.
Right.
So that was the other thing.
That's funny. Well, it's interesting because, it's always interesting to see guys around the school and the girls, they'll kind of get startled if a staff faculty sees them, and it's always pretty interesting as long as they're staying safe, or we don't harp on them. But we don't allow them in the school. But yeah, I can definitely see a sister being pretty strict about, hey, no boys around here. So that's funny. What traditions do you remember that were quite memorable for you?
Oh, the play dates. We used to have, and I don't even know if you guys still do. We used to have. They were like, how do I describe it? Like there were sports rallies, right? And every class would have a theme, and we dressed up in costume, and so whatever our theme was, that's what you would dress up as, and everybody would take turns, and every class had their own cheerleading squad.
Okay.
It was like 3 girls, right? And so they would go out and we would cheer for our class. But I remember those were a lot of fun.
And did you have those once a year? Was it like how frequent?
I think just once a year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So we still have that. These are the traditions that have carried on. We saw Play Day, and it's once a year where all of the classes compete. So now there is a dance portion that's like 15 minutes. It's like a dance / skit / and they all put it together, and the whole class, there's different groups that are working on different parts that work with a theme. And then there's also a backdrop that they get to decorate based on their theme. So what were some of the themes that you had?
Oh, that part I don't remember. That part I don't remember. Our class name was the Scotty, so I can only imagine that we did something around our name.
Yeah.
But the other thing that we had that you guys don't have anymore is we had etiquette classes. We had a couple. They were married, but they were Miss Adair and Mr. Parker. And they would come and they would give us etiquette classes, how to sit, how to stand, how to walk, how to set a table properly, right? And then how to eat chicken with the bone with a knife and a fork. Now there's a skill in that.
Yeah, and you have to hold it in like one with one hand and etc.
Yeah. So they taught us all of that. They also taught us how to do the basic dances, like the waltz, the box. What is it? The box, and I forget what other one. But that was something that I carried forth and shared with my son, and now I'm sharing it with my grandson.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Wow. And was that something where the girls all like looked forward to that class because it was really fun, or like what was the?
We looked forward to it because they also, Miss Adair and Mr. Parker also taught at Cathedral. And so once a year, we would, then the boys would come over to the auditorium, because the auditorium was part of our school at that point, and we would practice the dancing.
Oh, wow.
So, so that's where we were looking forward to that.
Wow, that's fascinating that they'd be able to get the guys over and have like a dance class together.
Yeah.
That's neat. That sounds like it'd be pretty exciting, for sure.
Yeah, it was fun. And then just the sports. We had volleyball. We didn't have soccer. We had volleyball, basketball, and softball. And I played volleyball and softball.
Nice. Okay, so great. I'm glad you brought this up, because I want to ask you, what was it like to be an athlete and a student at the same time for you?
I don't remember it being difficult. Look forward to the physical activity of just being able to I mean, all I remember is you know, wanting to play enough time so that I could get my Letterman sweater.
Yeah.
The goal
Yeah.
is to get my Letterman sweater.
Yeah.
So,
And what was it hard to manage, to juggle sports and school? What was that like for you?
I don't remember it being hard. You know, I think the hard part was, you know, once the games were over with, getting on the bus and going home.
Yeah.
In my sophomore year, we moved from Boyle Heights to East LA, but I didn't want to stop coming to Sacred Heart. So I ended up taking 2 buses.
Oh, wow.
To get to school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So that was a challenge, especially, you know, when it got, you know, darker earlier.
Right.
But I remember playing softball there at a park. God, it's still there. South of Broadway, right there up the street, because we would walk to the park to play. I think it's a senior center now. It's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lincoln Park.
No, not Lincoln Park. It's off of right there off of Baldwin. It's a senior center now.
Lincoln Heights Park.
Yes.
Lincoln Heights. That's right. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Wow.
Right.
And so, are there any? Sports oftentimes teaches us a lot about life. What were some of those lessons that you learned that carried on with you in sports?
Well, I think, just having a good attitude, whether you win or lose, learning how to lose and learning from it, and I think just perseverance, just doing your best all the time. Whatever the outcome, as long as you do your best, then you walk away okay.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have some good coaches that taught you those lessons.
Yeah. Mr. Brower, I remember.
Well, being in high school, oftentimes a very challenging time for young people, and when you think of some of the biggest challenges that you've had in your teenage years, being at Sacred Heart, or what were the biggest challenges for high schools in general at that time for you? Like, what were those?
My mother was very strict with me. So in terms of other high schools, I couldn't answer that question. I think certainly it was, I was there from 66 to 70. So the walkouts and, all of that was going on in the neighborhood was certainly a challenge. I remember feeling apart from it because, most of it was concentrated in the public schools. Mm-hmm. And the only time that I went to public school was during summer, because Sacred Heart didn't have summer school during those years. Right. So if you wanted to go to summer school, you would have to go to the public school. Yeah. So that was really the only exposure that I had to public school. Okay. So, but in terms of challenges, I think part of it, it's like, just, and I don't think it's that much different for some of our girls today. My parents didn't know anything about, my mom had a 3rd grade education. So in terms of trying to help us, my brother and I, with our homework, she couldn't do it. My father couldn't do it. My father only went to junior high. Wow. So I think, you had to figure it out yourself. Yeah. And reach out to your sisters for help. But I remember it was my junior year, my junior year. And I wish I could remember. Sister Janine. I felt that I was barely making algebra. I mean, I was struggling with algebra. And she came to me, she goes, I want you to take geometry. And I said, sister, are you crazy? I'm barely making it in algebra, and you want me to? She says, you can do this. And I was like, no. She talked me into doing that. So to me, it was like, you got the gentle support to stretch yourself. Mm. You know, because on my own, I don't think I would have taken geometry in those things. You know, it's not something I would have done.
I like how you said that, the gentle support. That's, I mean, it's a great way to characterize that support that you had, which helped you get to where you needed. It was gentle, and it was like, all right, this is what I think you can do.
Yeah.
Now, being that you had the parents that didn't go through the experiences you did with education, you end up going to Cal State LA, the nursing program. What was that like to be able to, apply and go through that process? Not a lot of parent support.
Yeah, it's like you learn by doing, and I think the support that I got from my mom mostly was the fact that she just kept on pushing me to do that. She wanted me to have a college education. She knew that I wanted to be a nurse, and she just was there for me emotionally. Even though and today she'll say, she says she did it on her own. She says, because I didn't know how to fill out any paperwork. I didn't know, what to do. And I think I was fortunate in that there was a program that was recruiting Hispanic women into the nursing program, or young ladies. And a woman by the name of Pauline Dorsey Rodriguez at that point came to speak. And I still picture her in the auditorium up on the podium talking about nursing and, all what you had to do and all of this other stuff. So she was very instrumental at helping me apply at Cal State. And then that program, once I was accepted into the program at Cal State, then they had a mentor with you. And the woman that mentored me that was there her name is Patricia Arellano, and we're still very good friends.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, I think, the programs like that are so essential to reach out, and because I was very naive. I didn't have a clue on what I was going to do. I just knew I wanted to be a nurse, and so doors opened, and God was good and put people in my path that helped me.
Yeah. I love how you said that God puts people in our lives to help support us and guide us. And that resonates with me. And sometimes I think we go through life and wondering how we're going to get to the next stage or get to where we want to, what we want to do, what we want to be. And we're not sure because for whatever reason, we don't see it, or we don't realize, or we don't have the support right there at that time. But then people come into our lives and help guide us into that direction, which I think is huge. And I'm hearing that was the case for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. So you go on to Cal State LA and 4-year bachelor, right, in nursing. And then you're in the career that you always wanted to be in.
Exactly.
And so you end up becoming, you go high in the ranks. And so what was that like for you?
Scary. It was scary. When I was approached and asked if I would do it. I just, as an interim, because my predecessor was leaving, and they asked if I would fill in. And two things were going on in my life at that point. But it was right before the first wave of the Iraq War. Mm. And my son was in the Marine Corps. And so he was getting ready to leave to Iraq.
Yeah.
And when they came to me and they said, and I'm saying, no, this can't, I can't wrap my head around this. This is like unbelievable. No. I said, get somebody else. I can't deal with it. I'm dealing with my son. And they said, well, just think about it. So I remember coming home and being in my backyard in my patio, and I was crying, and I was asking God, what is it you want me to do? Because I don't know. I really don't know. It's, God, do you really, really want, take this? It's almost like that saying, take this cross from me because I don't want it. Wow. But through prayer, I said fine, and I accepted to be the interim. But when I went, I said, well, I'll do it until you can find somebody to do it permanently, because I really don't want this job. And I don't know how many months later, I landed up interviewing for the job. And something else about Sacred Heart is there were 4 applicants for the position when we applied, right? 3 of the 4 were Sacred Heart grads.
Really?
3 of us were Sacred Heart grads.
Wow. And that was at?
That was for the CNO position at the county.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting.
So says a lot about Sacred Heart.
Yeah. So tell us about the chief nursing officer. Some of our audience may not know what that means or what that entails. So what did your job entail?
So LAC USC Medical Center is the largest teaching county hospital in the West Coast, or it used to be anyway, but when I was there. So level 1 trauma center. I had about 3,000 employees under me at that point, which meant that's not all RNs, LVNs, nursing attendants, the clerks, that reported to me at different levels. So it was all of the departments, the operating room, emergency room, all of med-surg, all of that. And it's just, the role of the chief nursing officer is to make sure that the nursing department is operating under all of the rules and guidelines that are established by the federal government and the state. And of course the county guidelines too. So during my tenure, I was there, the new hospital got built, and we moved, I want to say about 300 patients in one day from the old building to the new building.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was awesome. But it was the staff that did it. We had consultants, and we would have drills. And I used to play a patient, and we would time it, how long it would take them to get me in a gurney, get to the elevator, get downstairs, get in an ambulance, drive around to the new hospital, back up to the new floor. And we would time it and we would practice. And we would turn it we try to make it fun.
Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because I would say the students from 2010, maybe 2010, 2011, all the way up until last year, will recognize what you're talking about, because we participate in the LAC USC disaster drill, which starts at the old facility right where the ambulance takes off, and then we go, and then some of them go in the ambulance, they go down and go around to the ER, and then they go into their area. So that's interesting that you said that, because I think a lot of the students who have done that, the LAC USC disaster drill, would know what you're talking about. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in charge of a lot. I mean, it's very much of a leadership position, a big leadership position. What did it take? It was something that you were like, you didn't want, but you ended up applying. So what was was there a moment of, this is out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to do it anyways for you?
Okay. What was, I'm sorry, say it again?
Yeah. So was there like a moment where like, this is like out of my comfort zone? Like, this is like totally like foreign, but I'm going to do what I need to do to get through it.
Almost every day. That place never stops. I mean, it's a city into itself. It just never stops. There's never a dull moment. And there's always, and you just have to keep going.
What did it take for you to do that? Because a lot of times when people come to a moment of like, this is way out of my comfort zone, like this is way out of what I'm comfortable with, I don't know if I can actually do this, and some people will just shut down, right? Where this was something that you had to do every day, so you had to develop this pattern of I'm going to step outside my comfort zone, I'm going to keep going. How did you do that? Like, how did you get there? Because that's a tough thing for people to do.
I didn't stop to think about it, I think. It's just like, you have to do it, you do it. And sometimes it's prayer. I was fortunate. God blessed me with a wonderful woman, my secretary, who was a very spiritual person. She was Christian. And there were days when she knew I was having a difficult time. And she would come into my office and we would close the doors and we would pray. And, less than 5 minutes, we would pray. And then we'd go back to, doing the work that we needed to do. I want to say it's like being a parent. It's like you have a kid. You don't know what, the first time you have a baby, you don't know, what you're doing. You don't know, how to raise a kid. But this person is depending on you. They didn't ask to be brought into the world, and so whether you know how to do it or whatever, you step up to the plate because someone is depending on you. And I think any leadership position, that's what it entails. Yeah. People are depending on you. And you have to step up to the plate. It doesn't matter what you feel. You have to step up to the plate.
Wow. What did it take for you to get to that place in your career, personally, professionally? Like, looking back at, if you're sharing this with, people in high school or in college that, want to be able to get to that point in their career, like, what did it take for you?
Never give up. I think that's just don't give up no matter what. And I like to tell the story. When I started out at the nursing program in the 70s at Cal State, I was one of 3 Latinas. Everybody else was white. And there was one Asian. She was Chinese. And all of the instructors were also Anglo. And so at that point, we were on a quarter system. So after the very, very first quarter, and I had my first nursing instructor, she was a racist. It was under the table racism, but it was racism. She gave me such a hard time. She would embarrass me in front of patients.
Wow.
And so that come midterm, she came to, we had our midterm meeting, and she told me, you better think about being something else because you're not going to cut it as a nurse. And I just like, what? I remember I went home and I cried. I thought, oh my God, I've never wanted to be anything else. What am I going to do now, right? And thank God my mom, she just turned around. She says, don't let yourself. You want to do this, you go back and you do it. So I went back and I plugged through, I passed. And at the end of the quarter, she told me, she says, well, I don't know how you did it. She says, but I would suggest that you not take a full load from now on because you're not going to make it. The next quarter, I'm getting feedback.
Uh-oh. You still there?
Yeah. Can you hear the echo?
Yeah, you're good on our end.
Oh, okay. The next quarter, I had another instructor, Eloise King, wonderful woman, who was just so supportive and so wonderful. And so, that got me through it. Because then I remember running into the first instructor, and I can't remember her name. And she was very surprised that I was carrying a full load and that I was doing well. Yeah. So when I talk to young people, men or boys or young ladies, it's don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot do. Mm. You just if you want to do something. Yeah. Don't let anybody stop.
Wow. I really love how you put that. I mean, it's a interesting story, and I really hear how it got you down. Like, I mean, to be able to have someone that was racist put you down, put your dreams down, that's never easy to go through. And, to push on through, to have a supportive mom, to be able to, to say, to keep going, and for you to put in the work, right? It takes a lot. And to be able to know that I'm going to do what I want to do. No one's going to tell me otherwise. That's big. That's huge. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think a lot of people need to hear that for sure. Well, Irene, it's been great to have you on the Comets podcast. It's great to hear about people's journeys, especially amazing alumna like you. I have a couple other questions. You continue to help Sacred Heart in so many different ways. My question is, what brings you back? I mean, you're with the golf tournament committee. You're with probably 500 other committees at Sacred Heart. Like, what brings you back?
I think, and maybe this is something that I got from Sacred Heart. I don't know. To give back. My doggy is giving me problems here. I think I was fortunate in going to Sacred Heart and all of the values that the sisters gave me, and I just think it's important to make sure that that's there for other young ladies. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. I don't know if I would have been as successful had I gone to a different school but a lot of what I learned there, I carried into my career. And I think it's just so important to pass that on, to give somebody else that same opportunity. I think it's just so important. And when I see the young ladies at Sacred Heart, my gosh, they are just like so awesome.
They are. They are.
All of
Well,
them.
on behalf of all the students that you helped to build into amazing women, thank you for all the support. You're so generous with your time and your money and your efforts, and we're just so grateful to have people like you to come back and just continue to give and to be that model for other women and other ladies of Sacred Heart High School. So thank you very much. Thank you for that.
My pleasure. God put me on this earth. God put me on this earth. I'm just doing what you.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, everyone, that wraps up our show for today. Again, I remember to send this here, class of 1970, to share with us what her journey was like. We just want to give a huge thank you for joining us. Stay posted for our next guest, and we'll see you on the flip side. All right, everyone, have a good one. Peace out.